Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am once again your host Random Gamer Riven for Randomised Gaming, and sadly once again we have another delisting video or license loss. As you may see, this is Farsight Studios' The Pinball Arcade, and the screen that's about to pop up in a second is going to explain everything that's about to happen, as Farsight Studios have lost the license to both Bally and Williams Pinball tables. Unfortunately, that means the vast majorities of pinball tables on the Pinball Arcade are actually no longer going to be able to be purchased. So you can see here Williams and Bally announcement on June the 30th 2018, Pinball Arcade will no longer be selling any Williams and Bally tables. Anyone who purchases the tables prior to this deadline will continue to own them and have access to them, and we will continue to support them as we do other tables in our collection. So if you've ever been interested in owning these great tables, please purchase them now before they disappear. Now, one of the caveats with this is that Williams and Bally, they also actually were Midway. It's basically Midway and Midway, Bally and Williams were all effectively eventually ended up as one company, and they did the vast majorities of pinballs. In fact, we're losing, by my calculations, 62 tables. Although 61 technically, as you can't buy one of them. One of the Williams or Bally tables was only a Kickstarter backer only one. However, for Pinball Arcade, this is a real loss, as the tables it is losing are some of the best pinball tables ever made. You're losing Addams Family, you're losing Star Trek, we're losing the Doctor Who one, we're losing the Twilight Zone, we're losing Medieval Madness, just to name a few, and all of those ones are some of the top rated pinballs of all time. So this is a huge loss for the Pinball Arcade. In fact, you're actually losing over half the roster, as by my calculations there will be 34 tables left, assuming the Farsight made Doctor Who isn't part of the Bally license, in which case there'll only be 33 games, which is a real tragedy for the Pinball Arcade. So this is the full roster of tables that are available at the moment, bar the Kickstarter one, which we don't have. Yes, there are actually two versions of the Addams Family. You can get the Addams Family, and there's also the Addams Family Gold Special Edition one. That's only available to Kickstarter backers, sadly. But as you can see here, the vast majority means some real classics here. Some of them are Gotta Live, that's like Circus Volare there, that's Bally, and instead the vast majority of them are Bally pinballs, so it's a real tragedy. Doctor Who, there's two versions of Doctor Who. One of them, as said, was a Farsight rerun, but as you can see, if you're basically going to be left with a handful of Gotta Live or Go to Live, I think it's pronounced Gotta Live, and the Stern pinballs, and Stern also eventually bought up the rights to the Data East and Sega pinballs, and I think there's two Sega and one Data East. Largely, however, the vast majorities are Williams and Bally pinballs, and this is a real shame, because again, there's games like Hurricane, Indianapolis Jackpot, and all the Pinbot series ones, the Judge Dredd one. So many great tables we're losing, and it's a real loss if you're a pinball fan like us. Now, I must admit, my love of pinball, I was never a big fan of pinball during the 90s and sort of late 80s. I much preferred the arcade games, but as I've got a bit older, I appreciate pinball an awful lot more, and I've actually really come to enjoy it. I'm not a bad player. Dragoon in our randomised gaming team is a vastly better player. In fact, he's managed to do literally all the table goals in this version. He's currently working on the Wizard goals. He's actually already finished the earlier collections that Farsight Studio did, such as the Williams Arcade Pinball Classics collection and the original, or basically the 360 release of the Pinball Arcade. So the Pinball Arcade is available on PS4 and Xbox One. It was available on Xbox 360 and PS3, but those versions, I believe, have largely been delisted. It was also available on Nintendo Switch, but it was only available on Nintendo Switch for about 2 hours before, unfortunately, there was a licensing issue, I understand, and so the Switch version had to be pulled. I'm not going to say a huge amount more. I'm just going to showcase instead a number of the pinballs that are all going to be going. So this is the World Cup Soccer one. I think it's renamed World Soccer due to licensing issues, but it's just one of the many tables that will sadly be going in its entirety. There are actually a few tables with a couple of changes. A couple of them had licensed songs as well, and you'll notice I sped through the roll call of Pinballs fairly quickly, as there is quite a bit of licensed music, such as the Addams Family and the Ghostbusters theme by Ray Parker Jr. Also be careful with a few of the other tables. Unfortunately, I did record. There was one or two I wanted to record, but when I actually listened to the music used, I realised this is quite a famous song, so I can't use it because else YouTube will be having a copyright match. Nightmare otherwise. So we go through a varied selection. So this one's actually a really good World Soccer one. We're showing Judge Dredd. I think we've got Fish Tales coming up. We've got a bit of Medieval Madness. Sadly, I couldn't show you the Addams Family or Star Trek due to the music playing. But there are some really great tables again. The Championship Pub, this is quite a late midway one. It's a really good fun one. I don't recall seeing this one in the actual arcades at the time, but this is actually a really good fun one where you basically have to fight people. The later pinballs really do. They have a lot of humour to them, and I think that worked really well. There was an awful lot of licensed ones, but when they weren't doing licensed ones, they tended to have a lot of humour to them. If you do want to pick them up, you've only got days left. I think from the video now it's like 2 days. Basically it goes on June the 30th, which is the Saturday I believe, and I think by June the 30th they will be gone, so literally you've got like 2 days left. I think they may be getting pulled on the Friday. One thing I should say is that this is not cheap to buy, and just to give you an idea, it cost one of our team members, Dragoon, actually picked these all up around £170, and that wasn't including the pro tables, which he bought separately. I think in total it's cost him around £200. This is not a cheap game if you want all the seasons. There are 7 seasons, or if you just want to mix and match, you can buy 1 or 2 tables individually. Buying them individually, really, you should only do that if you just want a specific table. If you want to get a larger chunk of them, it's better to buy the relevant seasons. So there are 96 tables in total, as I said. 26 are ballet, and that includes the Addams Family Gold one, which is the Kickstarter one. And there are 36 Williams tables. So in total, 62 will be going, but you can only buy 61 of those. Now, Tales of Arabian Nights is said to only be in Season 1. Currently it's listed as the 3-1, but you need to apparently, according to Fastlight Studios, if you don't own Season 1, you won't get to keep that table when they remove all the Midway and Ballet tables. There will be 34 tables left, like I said, but that's assuming, of course, the Fastlight Studio Doctor Who also remained. Otherwise, there will only be 33 tables remaining out of 96. And those tables will mainly be made up of Stern, Data East, Sega and Go-Clip pinballs. There is one caveat that you will be able to get some of the Midway and the Williams and Ballet tables, because there are 2 retail discs, one for Season 1 and one for Season 2. Sadly, there aren't retail discs for Season 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, but if you do miss out on being able to pick them up now and at a later date you decide, oh, I'd quite like XYZ Pinball, and it's on Season 1 or Season 2, you will still be able to buy them via the retail disc. As a warning, I suspect once these tables get removed, the price of Season 1 and Season 2 will likely increase exponentially. There is a chance these Midway tables could come back to the Pinball Arcade at a later date as well. At the moment, they are losing the license. So this table here is actually Medieval Madness, and this is widely regarded as one of the best tables ever made. I must admit myself, having played this quite extensively, this is an absolutely fantastic table, and I can see why so many people rate it so highly. But yes, there is a chance it could return at a later date, but Fastlight Studios for now said they're losing them. And even if it does return, I suspect the season format that they had at present will not be returning. I should also note that there are pro download, or pro, you can buy pro options. Now, I kind of begrudgingly think these Pro options are little more than features that should be available. Well, one of the Pro options that I should point out is the ability to fiddle with the dip switches, and in a couple of games the dip switches are the only way to remove the family mode setting. Certainly the Elvira, I think it's the Scared Stiff, or one of the Scared Stiff, there's two Elvira tables, Party Monster or Scared Stiff. One of them has a family mode set on by default, and the only way to switch it off is via the dip switches, which are only accessible if you buy the Pro mode. Not every table annoyingly has a Pro mode either for some reason, and one of the features that should be standard in Pinball FX is the ability to just actually look at the table. You can only look at the table if you have Pro mode.
Fire in the hole! Go get him, Chad. Yeehaw!
You have destroyed my tactic!
Fire in the hole!
You have no...
It's a dud. Spin the wheel!
Where are we?
Thursday!
We interrupt this broadcast. Construction accident. Man trapped in a porta potty. Stand by for blasting.
Hey!
See? That didn't hurt a bit.
So another great table there with the Ted and Red Roadshow, and this is Fish Tales, which is another really fun one. Great humour again. Sadly, as I mentioned slightly earlier in the video, all of these tables that we're showcasing now will be gone for good, sadly, and there's some really, really good tables among them. Some of the best pinball tables ever. And I think for Pinball Arcade this is a massive, massive blow, because this is the vast majority of tables that are going. Apparently they are going to bring the remaining Stern tables, because there is also, Fastlight Studios also did a Stern Pinball version, but many fans were unhappy about that as it kind of split the fan base, and so subsequently they've been porting the pinball tables from Stern to Pinball Arcade. Indeed, Fastlight Studios themselves said that Stern Pinball hadn't been that successful, and games, once they were released on the Pinball Arcade, sold vastly higher than when they were sold separately on Stern Pinball. I think there was actually quite a big mistake for them to actually create two games. Really, if they wanted to do it, the downloads, so for instance, if you bought a table on Pinball Arcade, it should have been accessible to use on Stern Pinball if it was a Stern one. The fact they split it into two downloads was a huge mistake, I think, on their part.
Don't move. Shift gears. Shift gears. Shift gears now. Shift now.
Hi there.
Okay, buddy, forward. Forward. 504, you are authorized to use lethal force.
So this is the last table I'm going to be showcasing, which is the fantastic Judge Dredd one.
Scratch one creep.
Battle tank sighted in Sector 6.
There's some great bonus modes in it, and again a great sense of humour. And there's also 2 game modes in this one. This one's quite unique in that you get 2 game modes. You get the standard mode, or you get a super play game where basically you start off with multi-ball from the get-go, which is quite good fun.
Battle tank damage at 25%.
So it's going to be interesting to see whether Fastlight Studios will be able to regain the license at some point, because there's so many good tables they'll be losing. They have mentioned that they will try and look at maybe getting Capcom more Stern pinballs, because Stern actually still make a lot of brand new pinballs at the minute. I think Stern one of the few manufacturers left. In fact, Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters one is 2016, which is actually the most recent pinball on it. It's just one of the things I would have liked to have seen is the Pinball 2000. There were 2 games using Pinball 2000, which was a unique sort of later engine, but sadly that isn't available. So again, this shows that there is a digital dark age coming if we're not careful and don't preserve a lot of this gaming stuff. This stuff really, it's quite sad to see the stuff going so early on. I mean, you've only been able to buy it for a few years, and it's a real shame. So again, this is another thing that we need to think about for the future, about how this stuff's archived. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed this quick look at the games we're losing. If you do want to buy them, I do suggest you literally pick them up today or tomorrow. Don't wait any longer. Buy, because they have spoken. Fastlight had said they may need to axe them slightly earlier than expected, so do keep an eye on them if you do want to pick any of them up. That's all for now. I've been your host, Random Gamer Riven, on this slightly sad news video. But if you did like our content, and if you do like us covering these sad issues within the industry, please do like this video, and of course, as always, please subscribe to our channel. The more subscribers we get, the more content we can produce. Thank you.